Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Expanse reaction video. Today we're going to be watching, reviewing, and reacting to Season 5, Episode 9. So, at long last, getting close to the end of the season. Okay guys, so I know it's quite a long delay between episodes. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of issues getting in the way of me being able to film and post these, mainly revolving around YouTube. I've been trying not to get like too far ahead, more than a couple episodes ahead, between Patreon and YouTube, and unfortunately I'm having a lot of copyright issues, which is weird because though I usually have copyright issues with a lot of things, especially movies, in the past, Expanse, Amazon had been pretty good from Season 4, and then for most of Season 5, but then the past couple of episodes, it's gotten to a point where I've have to re-upload, re-edits kind of multiple times, but unlike with some of the other issues with movies, what's happening is I'll upload it, it'll get blocked, I'll put in a dispute, and then they have technically a month that they can respond to the dispute one way or the other. So I actually had an incident with my episode 7 reaction where I think it was 7, where I did that and it took them almost the full month, 28 days to respond, and when they did respond to my dispute, they responded by rejecting my dispute. So then I had to start all over, and it took them a few more weeks, again, that time, to accept my dispute and allow me to post it. So that's the sort of thing that I've been dealing with, so it's gotten to be quite a bit of a hassle. And then on top of that, I've also had, you know, a lot of the HBO movie premieres coming out, I've tried to get them out quickly because it just is something where, unfortunately, with movie premieres, if you don't post the reaction not too long, more than a few days after, that people aren't really interested or care. So I've been trying to keep on top of those, and that's just led to a lot of delays here, unfortunately. So, but here we are with episode 9. Now, I had originally hoped after episode 8, after I filmed episode 8, that I would do 9 and 10 back to back. I don't think that I'm going to be able to do that today. We'll see. I'll try, but it might not happen, largely because I am unfortunately having a really bad pain day right now, and I don't know if I'll be able to sit up for that long to record 2 full episodes. Sadly, this is one of the only days for the next few days that I can film at all, so I figured it was better to at least get one put down on film for you guys than to try and say delay for a couple days and then maybe it doesn't work out at all. So we're gonna at least do 9. We'll see how I'm feeling at the end of it. But I can say that I will make sure that before this monthly cycle is up on Patreon, that you guys will get both episodes 9 and 10. So if you are a patron who is there that only exclusively for the Expanse, you won't have to go into another month of paying in order to make sure that you get early access to it or get the full version if that's what you are watching. So don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer than is absolutely necessary. So I can say that I will make sure that that at least happens no matter what else occurs. So now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's finally get into watching the episode. So, episode 9 of The Expanse, Season 5, here we go. Yeah, maybe, slightly. He's not going to be happy about this. He's not going to be happy about this, is he? He's like, oh, shit! Shit! Is he gonna realize, though, this means that she's alive?
First picked this up. The distress call said she had no control now. Now some random comm malfunction just happens to turn that into I am in control?
Nope.
4 times in a row?
No. No.
That really seemed random to you?
Not at all.
Yes. mean in the house. Where the Winters at?
Why are you guys hiding in here?
We saw your helicopter landing.
It wasn't marked UN. We thought if you were coming to steal, you'd go to the house.
It isn't what we're here to steal.
My name's Clarissa. My family had a house on the other side of the island.
Larissa Mao? Your family came to Thanksgiving one year.
That's right.
You and your sister spent the entire time fighting.
She's
My
like,
mom
usually.
was-
Who gives a fuck? Business first. Tearful reunions later.
Oh my god.
Where's the family that lived here?
Oh, they left a few months ago.
What about the shuttle? Is it lunar capable?
Yeah, but the ship hasn't flown in a while.
Not since I started working here 2 years ago.
Some kind of problem with the reactor, I think.
Fuck.
It's like, well, hold up. We might be able to fix that.
You think I don't want that? You think I don't go to sleep every night dreaming about putting Marco Inaros on the hooks? Watching him gasp for air and making his children watch him draw his final breath because he murdered my husband. My Arjun is dead, and I'd sacrifice everything to bring him back. And right now, everyone who loved someone on Palace is feeling what I feel.
Exactly.
For every partisan
Exactly.
we killed, we made 10 more.
Madam, I am truly sorry for your loss. But we can't let emotion make
Are
these
you
choices.
dumb?
We have to be rational and objective.
That's what she is doing. She's just saying, if she let.
I thought Anderson Dawes was a friend.
He'd never oppose Inaros when push comes to shove.
With Ceres and Paulus tonight,
Are you fucking
Inaros
kidding
will
me?
force back to the outer planets to resupply. It'll spread them thin.
It's a bold move.
It's a
There are millions of
disgusting,
people in
murderous
cities.
move.
Hundreds of thousands of children.
What are the scenarios for a full-scale attack?
Is the intention to incapacitate or
I
occupy?
will not be a part of this.
Are you stepping down?
Yes, sir.
To the Koto, and together you will intercept and engage the Rocinante.
What?
Destroying it is your first and only priority.
You're fucking up right now, Marco. You are fucking up.
Good hunting.
The fact that he's all freaked out about Naomi's clearly being alive is fucking with him, because he couldn't possibly be this dumb that he thinks he can directly kill
They make no
Ashford
sense.
and Fred and then
You said that the
try to
Rocinante was
convince
burned into a
Drummer.
trap. If that's true, why pick the fight?
Yeah. And then convince
So that
Drummer
the
that
Free
Naomi's
Navy can
dead
be
and then
seen
tell her to
killing
go
a
after
symbol
Holden.
of
You must be an
assimilation
idiot.
and compromise. The thing that has kept
No.
the belt on the inner's leash
She
for
knows.
generations.
Only a fool would believe that. You are many things, but you are not a fool.
Wait.
Pastor's gonna lose.
Snap elections then.
Yes.
Wait.
But those are unpredictable.
Are they
A lot of people feel it's too risky in times like these.
gonna put her in
You're
charge?
talking about a coup.
What?
That's treason.
No, ma'am. The ministers just thought it would come across as more impartial if I were the one to ask. Madam Avasarala, if you were nominated to lead us again, would you serve?
That's fucking right. I got really messed up for a second there. With that scene with
God.
Arjun.
They
And
picked you.
of course.
Mostly for the name recognition, I think.
The once and future queen.
Do you love us too?
What?
You love Naomi. Do you love us?
Of course.
Do we mean as much to you as she did?
Uh-oh.
I need to hear you say it.
Yes.
It's possible that Naomi is still alive on that ship. Marco wants us to kill Rocinante before they can help her. You can't save her! You know what happens when someone goes against Marco? If we are disloyal now, we'll be killed. Not just you, not just me, but all of us.
No way she's going along with this.
I beg you to respect that.
Not gonna happen. Sorry.
Calls you Peaches.
Yeah.
Why?
Why do you call him Timmy?
It's his name.
Because that's his name.
Should I ask?
I wouldn't.
On the road, he said we were a tribe of two. But if we hadn't teamed up with you guys, we'd be dead now. We were stronger because our tribe grew.
I'm still not sure what your collection of scullery maids and butlers is adding to the team.
Doesn't matter. Maybe just being people who need help is enough. If we decided to include everyone in our tribe without demanding that they prove we need them, maybe people wouldn't have thrown rocks at us in the first place.
Jesus Christ. Where did Timmy find you?
It's not gonna see this one coming.
Serving a life sentence for multiple homicides.
He's like, wait, what? 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 Wait a minute.
I yanked it and ran a bypass. Hopefully
Thought you were some idealistic do-gooder based on what you're saying, but...
Now.
Uh-oh. You don't really want to go up against her. Is that... Ah! Alright, well that was the end of episode 9. I'm gonna try to keep this short this time because, like I said, I'm having a pretty bad pain day and I kind of gotta get off camera and go lay down for a while. But I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I don't know what Naomi is doing now, what she's planning, what she's trying to, like, she put in all that work, she went through all that suffering to get herself over to that ship, only to find out that she couldn't control it, so she couldn't save them that way. And then she put in all that work, all that suffering to break up the message, to put out the message that she was in control, even though she's not really, but that she, you know, that she wasn't in distress on the ship, that she to try and suggest don't come here, because she knows that if anybody gets close enough, any ship gets close enough and they're trying to rescue her, that it's going to blow up and people she loves are going to die. But even though they received the message, so she succeeded in getting that message out there, they still are like, all right, well, we're still coming. And you can't really blame them. I mean, because they can't know exactly what that means. And even if it's saying, you know, I'm in control, like they said, you know, they were going through everything, they were rationalizing and trying to figure it out, not just Holden, but also Alex and Bobby. Like, well, all right, so maybe she's in some sort of control, but she can't really send out an actual message, and she can't really control the ship also enough to turn off the message altogether, so something is still obviously wrong. So yeah, and they care about her, so they're obviously not gonna just give up. But now she's like, now what do I do? And it did seem like she got some sort of insight at the end and she went back out there, but I don't know what she's gonna do to try and somehow either convey to them, don't come close enough for this to blow up, or find a way to make it so it doesn't blow up when they come to try and save her. Yeah. So, Marco. Just briefly mention Marco. This episode, I feel like, was interesting in terms of Marco, because first of all, I was obviously surprised that he was apologizing, because someone like Marco is never going to think that they are the one that is in the wrong, and even if they somehow thought there was a chance that they were partially responsible for something that happened, or they regretted in some way something that happened, they certainly wouldn't apologize and take responsibility. Unless, and this is what it indeed ended up being, unless it's a ploy. And so then, of course, we do see it was part of a ploy to continue his manipulative games with Philip, because he said, you know, Philip had clearly been pulling away from him to begin with, since Naomi came on board, and starting to defy him, and there had been some weird back and forth. But then, since Philip thought that Naomi died and that Sinan died, he was even more pulled back. So now Marco sees an opportunity, goes in and acts sorry, acts like he has some sort of sense of sadness or remorse, and then actually does tell him that Naomi's alive, but is all part of his plot to then say, see, she doesn't actually give a shit about you, she just wanted to get away from you again. And I mean, to try and draw him back in, because he had felt some of the control, the puppet strings loosening a little bit. So, but the other reason that I felt like this episode was sort of interesting in terms of Marco is that I think that finding out that Naomi was still alive, that she'd managed to survive, finding out that she hadn't killed herself, so first of all, that he hadn't broken her, no matter how much he tried. Second, that she is alive. And third, that she obviously still has some plans in motion and is got a strong, very strong will to survive that. Really kind of screwed him up a little bit, I think, because I think that he made a pretty big mistake in sending Drummer's group out to try and go after the Rossi, because no matter what she says with her girlfriend there, and no matter what she's saying, there is no fucking way, after everything that's happened, after all the murders, after all the horrific things, after all the mind games that Marco has tried to pull, that Drummer is gonna take her people there and try to kill Holden and blow up the Rossi. It's just not going to happen, especially not now that she knows that that Naomi is still alive and that they're trying to save her, and Marco's trying to prevent that from happening. So, I personally think that he was so worked up and upset, angry, confused, emotional about finding out all that information about Naomi that threw him off, and so he decided to try and send Drummer and them after the Rossi, and that was a big mistake. Like, he was not rationally thinking when he made that choice. And I think that's another interesting thing about this episode in general. We see a lot of thoughts about what is the rational choice and what is the emotion-driven choice. And I think, it most clearly was discussed in the section with Avasarala versus the Secretary General, where they're directly and blatantly saying, oh, I'm so sorry, but you're emotional, and that's why you don't agree with us blowing up and attacking Palace, and that's why you don't think we should do the same thing to fucking Ceres, which is disgusting. When in reality, Avasarala was the one who, despite her extreme emotions, despite her terrible feelings of guilt and sadness and anger and heartbreak over Arjun, despite that, and despite her heartbreak over what had happened to Earth, which she spent her whole life trying to defend, she was pushing past the urge to just react emotionally and attack and strike in the most expansive way possible against anybody that they could even associate with Marco or think of as possibly even supporting him in thought. She's saying, no, despite my emotions wanting me to react in that way, I am thinking much more rationally and realizing that this would be a terrible decision for us, not just strategically, because obviously that's leading to more people having these same feelings like me because we're killing their family members, many of whom had nothing to do with what actually happened here, so we're making more actual enemies where something didn't exist. But also just the fact that it is horrific, the things that you are considering doing. So she's the one that was actually thinking rationally, whereas they were the ones that were actually being driven by their rage, their emotions, but couldn't see it. And I mean, that is something that you see a lot, right? With people that are actually acting emotionally and not rationally, they'll turn around and accuse the other person that they're disagreeing with of being the one to think that way. So I just think that it is interesting. And this also, of course, plays into the situation with Drummer. This episode too, you see that a lot. And I guess you can even apply it to what was going on with Clarissa and Amos and Eric down on the ground in terms of the decision of who to welcome in, to bring in the extra servants to give them space to, and most crucially, to allow those security guy assholes to walk away and not just kill them. Because, of course, in that moment, the decision is what is actually the rational choice was probably to kill them. Because, like Amos said, they're going to come back later. And sure enough, they did come back later, and they killed a bunch of their people and caused a serious crisis. Obviously, that wouldn't have happened if they had just gotten rid of the ones that were there at the time. But, Clarissa is like, I've done enough horrible things, enough people have died, I'm hopeful maybe we can not contribute to more deaths, and that probably wasn't the rational choice, it was probably more of an emotional choice, but there were reasons for it. And I think it's also kind of interesting to think about, in all of these dynamics, you had this kind of, in all these situations, you had this kind of tension between what's the rational choice versus what's maybe the emotional choice, and maybe also even the moral choice, and which side does that fit on, one or the other. And sometimes the rational choice maybe isn't the moral choice, and if that's the case, what do you decide? I just think it's really interesting that kind of all of the storylines in this episode touched back on that in some different way. So then just one last thing I want to mention before I wrap up, because like I said, I don't want to take too long. I want to go and relax. Lay down, I guess. Oh, so Jesus Christ, what was it? There's, oh yes, thank you. My brain kind of got cloudy for a second there, but the one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I did mention it throughout the course of the reaction a little bit, was I thought that this episode also really, you know, kind of hit me really hard, in the moment when Avasarala is putting the message to Arjun up in the memorial for the people that died, and that you saw it starting to come out in the scene where she's talking about her own feelings and what she wants to do, and she says, they murdered my husband. Because up until that point, you know, even if you were thinking, and I was thinking, that he was probably dead, they didn't really say it. They didn't have her say that she really thought that or accepted it. So it was like a big moment for her. And even earlier, like shortly before that scene where she was trying to convince them, they showed her looking at the memorial, and it's like she was thinking about it, but she didn't really want to, even then, to fully accept the idea that he was gone. And then it was just in that moment that she started to accept it. So then later she was able to come back and put his name up there as kind of like her attempt to try and say goodbye. And it just was really sad. It was very sad, but well done. Yeah, so that one definitely got to me some. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up here, but one episode left, and there's a lot to wrap up. We've got to get all of our people back together, if that's possible. Do we think that they're actually all gonna come back together before the end of the season? We've got Amos is going to Luna, where Avasarala is, so they might be interacting in some way. Alex is on the way to Naomi, so presumably Alex and Bobby and Naomi will be interacting, but we have to figure out how that's actually going to come into play. Drummer's on the way to Holden, something's going to happen there, and who even knows what's going to happen with Marco. So I'm curious to see how they're going to wrap all of this up in one last episode of this season. So, all right. Like I said, guys, I'll make sure that my reaction to episode 10 is also up on Patreon before this monthly cycle concludes, at the very least, so that you won't have to pay for another one if you are keeping up with it. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.